Hey everyone, this is your man Marlon Copeland, and I am here with the top 10. I am here to talk about the greatest wrestlers of all time. So, since we lost Hulk Hogan recently, I thought it would be a good idea to talk about the top 10 wrestlers of all time and see where Hulk Hogan ranks on his list. On this list, um, I got this particular list from ChatGTP. So I will go up against ChatGTP and see can we compare and contrast. Let's start off with their list first. As you know, when I look to my right, that means I am reading. So I am about to start. Looking at ChatGTP's list, the criteria that it formulated. In-ring ability was the number one thing. Technical skill, athleticism, storytelling inside the ring. Uh, Charisma and mic skills. It's number two. Number three, cultural and industry impact. Number four, longevity and reinvention. Number five, championships and achievements. I don't know why ChatGTP ranked that so high when it's predetermined. If that's the case, that means John Cena better be number like one on their list. um, Drawing power. That's a big one. I think that should be higher. And cross-platform influence, which means that they make movies, they do music, blah 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 blah. I think those are pretty good examples of criteria. Let's dive in and see what happens here. So, um, let's look at honorable mentions from ChatGTP. Honorable mentions include Randy the Macho Man Savage. Oh yeah, slept into a Slim Jim. And number, it's honorable mention. Excuse me, Kurt Angle. I like Kurt Angle. It's a good one. Eddie Guerrero, amazing. He didn't have a long tenure at the top, just like Steve Austin didn't either. So I guess you can't say that, right? One of my personal favorites, Philip Jack Brooks, better known as CM Punk, and Roman Reigns, AJ Styles, Mick Foley, Sting, and Daniel Bryanson. Good honorable mention list. I like that. Pretty good list. It feels weird seeing Sting on the honorable mentions list, though. But let's see what else they got. Number 10, Chris Jericho. Yeah, I mean, Chris Jericho was he was a main. He wasn't a mainstay in WCW, but he definitely was someone that caught your eye. If you remember when he was there, Lionheart, he was a not as his move set wasn't as in depth as Seth Rollins, but they were kind of like the same guy in a sense. Jericho has a little bit more mic skills, but Jericho definitely is an all time guy. I don't know if he's on my list. Number 9 on ChatGTP's list is Paul Michael Levesque, better known as Triple H. Actually, Chris Jericho is Chris Irvine. His daddy was a famous hockey player. But Triple H is number 9 on their list. I mean, Triple H has a great mind for the business, and I'm not just saying that because of his current role as COO, for the company or whatnot. He just has a great mind. If you think about a lot of the feuds that Triple H had over the years, and if you think about how Triple H invoked your emotions, because a lot of you guys used to be so pissed and think that, oh, this is fake because Triple H screwed his way to the top. No, he actually was a good wrestler. He was a good psychologist of the industry. He's awesome. I don't know if he's on my list or not though. Number 8, Bret the Hitman Hart. The best there is, the best there was, the best there ever will be. One of the best ring generals ever. Wasn't that great on the microphone. I thought when he became a heel in his latter years in WWE, he gave us some jewels then. I mean, he was dropping some jewels. I remember, I think they was in Pittsburgh once, and he told the fans that if the United States was a human body and they had to perform an enema, that this is where they would stick the plug in or whatever he was saying. I thought he was very comical as a heel, and yeah, I like Brett. Brett should be on anybody's top 10 list. Number 7, the face that runs the place. Career his when he was on top, his career reminds me of Hogan's. John Cena. He had a decade of reign, top guy for a long period of time, and he didn't really have a lot of competition that he could. It wasn't that golden era like in an Attitude Era where the top guy could take on anybody, and they seem just as important as the top guy. Cena kind of lacked that. I thought Hogan lacked that. I mean, for every John Cena and Hulk Hogan, there's a CM Punk and a Randy Savage, but it started to thin out after that. I thought Jake the Snake Roberts deserved a chance, but historically we heard that Hogan really didn't want to take that chance, brother. But we'll move on from John. Number 6, Shawn Michaels. Real name is Michael Higginbottom. Shawn Michaels is definitely one of the greatest in-ring performers. He was great on the mic, had the look, one of the best theme songs, involved in some of the most realistic storylines that blurred the lines. So Shawn definitely deserves to be on the list. Number 5, The Undertaker. The Undertaker is probably the second greatest wrestler to work the gimmick at all times. He's a pillar of longevity. I remember when Mark Calloway wrestled in WCW under the moniker of Mean Mark Callis, and his finishing move was a heart punch. He won the U.S. title. He was a part of the Dangerous Alliance. I don't know how WCW screwed that up. Thanks, Ole Anderson. But when he got over to the WWE, he's the pillar of longevity and consistency. The character, because of the first few, I say about the first 7 years, he barely talked, wasn't any charisma there, didn't have it. He was kind of suffered from like what Andre the Giant suffered from. He was a great attraction, but in order to be great, you need a rival. You need a Bret Hart. You need a Shawn Michaels. You need you need a CM Punk. You need a John Cena. Undertaker didn't have that until it became a little bit later in his career at WWE. Then Shawn Michaels got in the picture, and they seen that this guy can really work. And then you start to see him formulate, feuds and things like that a little bit later. I don't know if I would have the Undertaker that high, but we'll see. Number 4, one of the Undertaker's most favorite people in the world, Hulk Hogan. God bless the dead. No, he just recently passed, but Hogan, we would not be where we're at in wrestling if it wasn't for Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan definitely was the flag bearer of the 80s, the rock and wrestling era. He ushered in, the cross-pollination of MTV and WWF at the time, and it worked. And Hogan had his Roddy Piper, so he had the feud, even though their egos kind of took away from it. We got it, but it took away from it. Why did we never see Hogan and Piper main event of WrestleMania? Think about that. We know the answer, but I'm just saying that took away from their storyline, that they could not swallow their pride and get it together. That's a big point there. Number 3 on ChatGTP's list is Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. I can't argue with The Rock being high. Can argue if someone was to say The Rock is an honorable mention on their list, I couldn't argue that. If someone was to say The Rock is number 1 on their list, I couldn't argue that. I do think that it is amazing the impact that he made on the industry. I don't know if people realize that The Rock has been in Hollywood longer than he was a wrestler. The Rock was an active WWE wrestler maybe 7 years, 6 or 7 years. And we see everything that The Rock achieved in those 6 or 7 years. And he's on a lot of people top 10 lists and or Mount Rushmore. That's pretty damn good when you think about the short amount of time that he was in there. Hogan wrestled for 30 years. Undertaker wrestled for 30 some odd years. Shawn Michaels 25 years. Bret the Hitman Hart about 35 years. Triple H 20 some odd years. Chris Jericho like 35 years now. So you think about that lineage. He's probably the only person on this list that's under 10 years as far as the totality of their professional wrestling career. Think about that. Number 2 on ChatGTP's list is Stone Cold Steve Austin. He is the face of the Attitude Era. I don't think he was only on top. Excuse me. He was only on top for maybe 4 years. I'll give him 4, and that might be generous. But those 4 years was so impactful that it rivals Hogan's decade, Cena's decade. This man t-shirts are still selling like in top 5 to this day. To this day! That's pretty cool. And number 1 by ChatGTP's measure is the Nature Boy, Ric Flair. Everyone loves Ric Flair, and when I said that the Undertaker probably is the second best wrestler in as far as working the gimmick, the one person that's ahead of him in working the gimmick is Ric Flair, because Richard Flair is the gimmick of Ric Flair. He never turns it off. Ric Flair probably goes home to his family and he's still Ric Flair. When the Undertaker walks in his house, he's Mark Calloway. I'm sure of it. And I think he would even attest to that as far as who lives the gimmick better. So that was ChatGTP's list. Good list. I can't argue that. I think I can do a little bit better. I do think it will only be fair to do some honorable mentions. I'm going to look off to my right still. Some of my honorable mentions would be Randy Macho Man Savage. I definitely think that he should be on the list. He should be on my honorable mention list. CM Punk, definitely. Mick Foley, definitely. Sting is one of those guys. Chris Jericho is one of those guys for me. Andre the Giant is one of those guys for me. Triple H is one of those guys for me. I hope I didn't skip anyone. That's my honorable mention list, and I think it's a pretty good list. But now we're going to jump into my top 10. Starting out at number 10, I have to acknowledge my tribal chief. When you look at Roman Reigns' career, this man has probably been. He came up from NXT in 2012. He was quickly ushered into the top, into the main event storylines with Dean Ambrose, now known as Jon Moxley, and also Seth Rollins. Yes, when the Shield was together, they was amazing for those 2 to 3 years. And then when he had his solo run, even though a lot of people did not like Roman Reigns, they felt like he was being force-fed. When we liked him at first, but when we saw that the machine was behind him, we wanted it organically, like how Austin was. Everybody's not going to be Stone Cold Steve Austin. And I also think that when you look at Roman Reigns, and I'm going to say this like amidst of Vince McMahon legal troubles, Roman Reigns is the personification of why Vince needed to step down. you say that you go by what the fans are riding. You're riding the wave of the fans. We didn't want Roman. We didn't want Roman because it was so obvious you guys were behind him. Number one. Number two, you did stupid things with Roman. When the Shield broke up, you kept him in the Shield outfit, which is it's a disservice to the other two members of the Shield. From a storyline standpoint, in real life, we don't give a shit, but just it don't make sense to keep him in the tactical gear. He was not the heart and soul of the Shield. The Shield was one band, one sound. I know that's a stupid saying because we say it all the time, but it's true. And then you put blue contacts in his eyes so he could have this look because you was so fixated with Austin blue eyes. But you know, when COVID hit, he stepped away. Whatever he did on his time, he figured it out. He took a stand that he wanted to be himself. And I acknowledge my tribal chief. When he first came into the WWE, stocks was like between $9 and $11. Now the stock's at like $200-300 a share. He's been the headliner at I don't know how many WrestleManias, but he has longevity. It just doesn't seem like it because we're living in that moment. But that's my guy. I think he's number 10. We the ones. I acknowledge my tribal chief. Number 9 on my list, The Undertaker. I really enjoyed The Undertaker, but to me, his first 6 or 7 years in the WWE, it left a lot to be desired because they was trying to make him Jason Voorhees or Michael Myers. Well, he could talk a little bit. He would say, "Rest in peace." That was about it. But Undertaker could talk his ass off. Why did he not talk? Once again, I wouldn't say this at this time about Vince, but it's a red flag. This man can talk his ass off, but you gave him a manager. Now, if it was something like in the sense of how Roman and Paul Heyman was, like it was more of a collaboration, that's one thing. Sometimes tradition needs to evolve, and I don't think that this guy understood that, and that's why I think the Undertaker had a tough 7 years in my opinion. Plus, he didn't have the yin to his yang. He didn't have a Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart. He didn't have a Rock and Austin, Rock and Triple H. That hurt him. But when he got that, he showed out. Without a shadow of a doubt, did he not show out? He showed his ass. I mean, I think that the first match that him and Shawn had at WrestleMania, I think that's probably the second greatest match in WWE history since I've been watching. I would say that the Bret Hart and Stone Cold Steve Austin match is probably the best match I've ever seen in my life in WWE. My number 8 wrestler, the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes, baby. So the reason why Dusty's on my list is because Dusty was a movement. When Dusty was younger, it didn't matter if he was black, white, whatever. Kids loved Dusty because he had that soulful glow about him. And he was a version of Diamond Dallas Page. What we know Diamond Dallas Page to be. He was a hard worker. The people can get behind him. Dusty was everything, and he had his yang, which was Ric Flair. I mean, if you're a person that goes back and watch old school matches, go back and watch Dusty Rhodes and Ric Flair at the Great American Bash in the 80s when Dusty finally wins the title. Or was that Starrcade? It was one of the two, but they fought all the time, and it was always great matches, man. Dusty Rhodes' feud with the Four Horsemen was phenomenal. He's low on my list. I just felt like he left a lot to be desired when he went to the WWE. The second go around, like when I was alive, because I think the first time he went, I wasn't alive. But Dusty is charisma personified, and I just think that we missed out when he was in WWE. I know they tried to do a serious angle with him and Dustin. He wanted to avenge Dustin in that scene, in that angle, but it just didn't work. It felt like they brought him over just to make him look like a B+ player because he was the man in NWA, or one of the men in NWA. So I'm not really, I really don't like that they did that to him, but he is one of the all-time greats in my personal opinion. Number 7 on my list, the best there is, the best there was, the best there ever will be, Bret the Hitman Motherfucking Hart. I think I was going to say Kevin Hart. I think Bret Hart is the second best tactician I've ever seen in the ring. I know that would grind his gears because he thinks he's the best, and you're supposed to think you're the best. I think that Shawn just had a little bit more aerial assault to him, and you know, we kind of like that, you know. But Bret Hart was the champion's champion. I feel Vince kind of screwed him a little bit in regards to the world title scene. And I'm not talking about the Montreal screw job. He was screwed before then. He should have had a longer reign when he wanted, but they let Yokozuna beat it. It was so on and so forth. But Bret Hart is a great champion. He's a great worker. He left a little bit to be desired on the mic as a babyface. When he was a heel, he was really good. But the Hart Foundation stable was good. I love Bret. I think that his Achilles heel was just his speaking on the mic. It didn't come off as realistic as you would want it to. Number 6 on my list. Time is up. Time is now. It's ironic. He had the same plight as Hogan. I mean, John Cena, you know, I know people criticize him for the 5 moves of doom and, you know, say all kind of stuff about him, but John Cena, he only had a few stars to work with, but he made, as people like to say, he made chicken salad out of chicken shit. He doesn't have the best move set in the world, but what he does have, he maximizes it. There is, I can tell you right now, on this list, there is nobody, and I dare anyone to tell me, there's nobody that can out-talk John Cena. If I was a wrestler and I had to go up against this dude, like, we know he don't give a shit at this. I would say for probably like the last 5-6 years of his active career, he didn't care about winning in the ring. He wanted to win verbally because that was his challenge. And he beat everybody. He beat Rock. He beat Reigns. He beat Rollins. Who did he not beat? He beat The Undertaker. I mean, he verbally just killed everyone. John Cena is the best. And I'm gonna say this as a fan, like, I reluctantly say that John Cena is the best talker on the mic. Nobody can talk shit like John Cena. Stop me when I'm telling lies. Number 5 on my list is probably going to be controversial, but it's my list. It's my damn list. Okay? And woo! Nate, come on! Ric Flair is number 5 on my list just simply because, first and foremost, he is the guy that is the gimmick. The Undertaker worked the gimmick. Ric Flair is the gimmick. When I got older, when I was a kid, I enjoyed NWA, World Class, AWA. I enjoyed everything except for WWE because it was very cartoony when I used to watch it as a kid. So that led me to like Ric Flair a lot. Plus, he was just so smooth. You know, the suits, the Rolex wearing, kiss stealing, wheeling dealing, son of a gun. You know, the 4 horsemen. It was amazing. But in the grand scheme of things, the WWE is the major leagues. NWA was the minor leagues, so to speak. And when you go back and watch the quality of the matches, like when Ric Flair had his first run in WWE, watch him and Bret Hart go at it. It looks it's not a good match. They're not good matches. And it's because Bret Hart can just simply outwork Ric Flair. Ric Flair has a very limited move set. And I think his in-ring ability got exposed. I'm glad he won the world title up there. I love the angle with the real world heavyweight championship when he took Big Gold up there. But, you know, he's an NWA guy, and he was exposed. But the reinvention of himself and understanding you're not a world heavyweight champion. You know, you can go to Evolution when he came back last time, Ric Flair. I mean, he's still one of the all-time greats. He's just not my great. Number 4 on my list. I am a big fan of this very next person. I can smell what he's cooking. He cooked for like 6 years. And like I said before, this man has climbed the ranks, became a big star, and he was gone. And my apologies, I have to add Brock Lesnar to my honorable mention list as well. But I thought about that because his last match at the time was, I think it was against Brock when he lost the world title to Brock, but that was arranged, right? I mean, his feuds with Austin, I mean, come on, it was amazing. His feud with Triple H, amazing. His screen time with Mick Foley, amazing. When did The Rock like not have good moments? I think we did reach a moment where we got a little bit like, you know, the shtick got a little tiring. I can remember one time he was saying something about Punky Bruce on the ice cream sandwich, and people was like, boring. And I was like, yeah, he's reaching that point. But I mean, I still was a fan. He just needed to reinvent himself. And I think he even understood that, and we got Hollywood Rock. But he's number 4 on my list, and I appreciate everything he's done in the industry. I mean, I enjoyed it. Hero Rock, it was nothing like it. Coming down there with the Versace on, pork chop sideburns, imitating Billy Gunn praying. Dear God, Bob, my name's Billy. It doesn't matter what your name is. It's still classic. But Dwayne Johnson is definitely an amazing performer and definitely deserves to be on this list. Number 3 on my list, probably going to be controversial to some. Some people probably would think he should be number 1. Some people would think he shouldn't be on the list. Black people probably don't want him on the list at all. But God bless the dead. What you going to do when the power of Hulkamania runs wild on you? I don't go by what happens in people's personal life. The incident that happened was a personal matter. He was being recorded. I'm not saying it's right what he said. I'm not saying, well, it's not right, but it is definitely wrong to have your privacy infringed upon. Some of you out there in TV world have said some stuff that if you were being recorded, you'd be blacklisted too. That's for all of us. But as far as him as a performer, Hulk Hogan, he had a whole decade of running the show. And what's ironic, him and Ric Flair were parallel. And I mean, Hogan, what'd you rather see? Hulk Hogan pick up Andre the Giant or Ric Flair fight Big Van Vader? Crossed over the movies, you know, Hogan deserves a lot of credit for where wrestling is at. The rockin' wrestling era did a lot for today's wrestling, and that should definitely be kept in mind. But he's number 3 on my list. And number 2 on my list, the boyhood dream has finally come true. I love that picture when he first won the world title for the first time. Shawn Michaels is the greatest in-ring performer that we've ever seen in our lives. There is no one. And The Rock means no one that can out wrestle Shawn Michaels in a ring. It's so funny though. I was watching a video earlier when him and the Undertaker were talking about their very last match, where they in Saudi Arabia. It was bad. It was bad, and he was at peace with it. It was just pretty cool. There's no greater in-ring performer than Shawn Michaels, and also his look. Like Shawn Michaels is the type of wrestler where if you're watching it and you have a girlfriend or whatever the case may be, your girlfriend will walk by the couch and say, "Hey, babe, who's that guy?" And you're like, "That's Shawn Michaels." She's like, "Oh, really?" And she'll sit down next to you and watch him. He just had a look about him. Women wanted him, men wanted to be like him. And he's not that big of a guy, they say. I never met him in real life as far as his build, and he had the deepest voice that you can possibly imagine. But great champion. He's all-time great. He's, in my opinion, the greatest in-ring performer of all time. The only reason he's not the greatest wrestler of all time because at the end of the day, son, Stone Cold Steve Austin, he whooped everybody's ass for like 3 to 4 years. So Stone Cold is the greatest wrestler of all time. And I am a big fan of Stone Cold Steve Austin. I go back to when he was in the USWA. I remember when he trained with gentleman Chris Adams. He went to Chris Adams' school. They had a real interesting feud when Steve Austin became an actual wrestler, teacher versus student, and he stole the man's girlfriend. It was a lot. There's a lot went into that, and that actually happened in real life too. But Steve Austin, just whether he was stunning Steve, Stone Cold, whatever. I was a big fan of his. I've been following his career since he won Rookie of the Year. I want to say in 1989. What else can you say? His 3 to 4 year run as far as being the number one guy in wrestling. Goldberg couldn't touch him. Shawn couldn't touch him. Undertaker couldn't touch him. Sting couldn't touch him. Hogan couldn't touch him. I would take his 3 to 4 years and put those up against Cena 10 and Hogan's 10 as far as being that flag bearer for the industry or company or whatever the case may be. Stone Cold Steve Austin is the damn greatest, and that's the bottom line because I said so. But with that being said, that is my list. I hope everyone enjoyed it. I know this will cause great debate, but shout out to everyone. If you want to look me up, I'm on Twitter, 2901 Productions. And also, God Bless the Dead. Lost Hogan. Man, at this point in time now, Ric Flair gonna outlive everybody. I had someone ask me the other day about said when they made the statement, like, man, I think Ric Flair is gonna he said, I can't believe what did they say? They said, man, I can't believe Hogan. I thought Ric Flair would pass before Hogan or something like that, they said. And I was like, look, Ric Flair is gonna be here forever. We all are gonna die before Ric Flair. It's gonna be Ric Flair, Magic Johnson, and cockroaches. They're gonna be the only thing that's still around. At some point in time, those gonna be the only 3 things on this earth. I ain't never seen, like, this man's been struck by lightning. If you want to talk about 9 lives, he number 1 on the list. But with all that being said, man, I hope everybody have a great day. Hope you enjoyed the video. Got more to come. Peace.